これは IVY+BEAN のボーク。ここは E と Z が分かる。Easy! Peasy! Lemon! Squeezy! っていうこと。Chapter 1. Wow. Title 1. No thanks. No thanks. Before Bean met Ivy, she didn't like her. Bean's mother was always saying that Bean should try playing with the new girl across the street. But Bean didn't want to. She's 11 years old, just like you, said her mother. And she seemed like such a nice girl. You could be friends. I already have friends, said Bean. And that was true. Bean did have a lot of friends, but really she didn't want to play with Ivy because her mother was right. Ivy did seem like such a nice girl. Even from across the street, she looked nice. But nice, Bean knew, is another word for boring. Ivy sat nicely on her front step. Bean zipped across the yard, yelling, Ivy has long curly red hair pushed back with a sparkly headband. Bean's hair was black, and it only came to her chin because it tingled up. It tingled if it was any longer. When Bean put on a headband, it fell off. Bling. Ivy wore a dress every day. Bean wore a dress when her mother made her. Ivy was always reading a book. Reading big books. Bean never read big books. Reading made her jump. Bean was sure that Ivy never stomped in public. She was sure she never smashed rock, boom, to find gold. She was sure that Ivy had never once climbed a tree and fallen out. Bean got bored just looking at her. So when her mother said she should play with her, Bean shook her head. No thanks, she said. You could give it a try, you might like her, said Bean's mom. All aboard, next train for boring is living now, yelled Bean. Her mother frowned. That isn't very nice, Bean. I was nice. I said no thanks, said Bean. I just don't want to, okay? Okay, her mother said. Have it your way. So for weeks and weeks, Bean didn't play with Ivy. But one day, something changed her mind. Bean hatched a plan. It always began. Bean was playing a trick on her older sister. Bean's older sister was named Nancy. She was 11. Nancy thought Bean was a pain and a pest. Bean thought Nancy was a boogerhead. Even since she turned 11, Nancy had been acting like she was Bean's mother. She ordered Bean around in a grown-up voice. Comb your hair! No more pretzels! Brush your teeth! Say please! Bean's mother said that Nancy was going through a stage. Bean knew that meant. Bean knew what that meant. That meant Nancy was bossy. Bean also knew that nobody likes bossy kids, so she was trying to help Nancy by done with her stage. Here's how she helped. She bugged Nancy until Nancy freaked out. Bean thought this was pretty helpful. The afternoon that Bean got her great idea, she was shopping with her mom and Nancy. Actually, Bean was being dragged along by her mother and Nancy. Bean hated shopping. Nancy loved it. Nancy was trying on skirts, lots of skirts. She put on a purple skirt. She looked at her front in the mirror. Then she turned to the side. Then she turned around and tried to look at her behind. Looks good, said Bean. Let's go. Be patient, just a little longer, Bean, said Bean's mother. I think it's cute, honey, she said to Nancy. Nancy looked in the mirror some more. Do you think these pockets are dumb? I like the pockets, said Bean's mother. Mom? The pictures Oshoma said. That's first one. second one, third one, fourth one, twice, fifth one, and the sixth one. You can't see it yet. I have to read it. Get it, Mom Bean. She had never been so bored in her entire life. She was so bored she fell on the floor. Then she took a tiny peek up at the lady in their dressing room next door. Yeah! Bean, said her mother. This minute! Bean got up and sat on the triangle seat again. She waited. Nancy looked at herself. I kind of like it, Nancy said, but it cost $40. That's all my money. I could get 2 skirts for $40. Don't be a tightwad, said Bean. She had just learned that word. It meant someone who didn't like to spend money. He's a daddy. It's like a 6th page. Don't call your sister a tightwad, said Bean's mother. Bean saw Nancy's eyes looking at her in the mirror. Tightwad, Bean's mouth without any sound. Nancy's eyes got narrower and so quick that their mother didn't see her. She stuck her tongue. Then Nancy turned to their mother and said, I think the skirt costs too much. Mom, I think I'd rather try to try on some tops. Bean knew that Nancy was being slow on purpose. Just to drive her crazy. Bean thought after kicking her in the shin, but then she got the idea. It was a great idea. It was also a helpful idea, one that would teach Nancy not to be such a tightwad. And best of all, her ideas would take Nancy freak out. We'll be sorry, Bean mouthed to Nancy. Honey, you'll be sorry, Bean mouthed to Nancy. Quiet, Bean. Why? Dried flesh. The ghost of Pancake Court. Bean was hiding inside a big brown bush in her front yard. The bush was right next to the sidewalk, and it was very scratchy and sticky inside. But Bean needed to be in the bush for her plan to work. Here's how Bean's plan went. He took $20 bill out of Nancy's purse and taped it on a long thread to it. She put the $20 bill on the sidewalk. Then she held on to the other end of the thread and climbed into the bush. Nancy would be coming home from school soon. She would see the money on the sidewalk. She would bend down to pick it up. Bean would quickly pull the money away, and then Nancy would freak out. Bean could hardly wait. There was only one problem. Nancy didn't come. Bean sat inside the bush for a long time. A branch poked her arm. Bean! Leaves fell down her skirt. Bean! She itched. She waited. Nothing happened. It was very quiet. Like this. Bean was hardly ever this quiet for this long. Because there was nothing else to do. She looked at the house across the street. Really, it wasn't across the street. It was around the street. Bean loved her street. The first reason was it's named Pancake Court. The second reason was it ended in a big circle right in front of Bean's house. Her dad called it a de sock. Come picture up. Cool de sock. Cool de sock. Bean called it cool. If Bean started riding her bicycle at the end of the block and pedaling really, really hard, she would whiz around the circle, tilting low over the side. Walk with a motorcycle racer. Slam! Bean looked up.